I'm Victoria. I'm Vanessa. Yeah, it's okay if you can't tell us apart. I guess we would call it Twingineering. Yeah.
Welcome back to our 12th episode. I know we've been on hold for a little bit, but please excuse us. We're just going to jump right into it. So today we have a special guest, one of our besties from college, Andrea. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, yes, I'm Andrea, and I am a graduate from UC Davis, and I graduated in mechanical engineering.
Woo! We are so excited to hear from you today, and your experience like in college, doing a fifth year, and just about yourself. But before we get started, what we like to do, we just like to talk about our weekly highs and lows, just to get it, a little more comfortable.
Yeah, get the conversation going.
Yeah, so Victoria, do you want to start?
Sure.
Start with the lows.
Okay, the lows. I had to go put gas yesterday in the morning. I didn't want to do it, but I was like on 30 miles and I was like, I'm not gonna like make it home. Like to work is like 10 and then like back is like another 10. And so I was like, I'd be really like pushing my luck there. And so I had to go get it. And then like, I don't know, I just overthink situations. And so I was like really stressed about it because I was like, what if like I have to parallel park in the Costco like gas stations, Like, what if someone is staring at me? Anyways, we did it. That was my low.
Nice. The anxiety and stress. I'll go next. So for me, a low is that I literally haven't slept in forever. No, it's just because like I'm working like just this week for a couple days because like there's like some crisis containment that we have to do. So we're all like going to supplier. I don't really know how much information I can say, but anyways, I'm working like 12 hours and they're like, yeah, you can go on the night shift. And like I'm by myself for like quality technically. And it's kind of weird because there's like three guys on the first shift. I'm like, no one wants to volunteer to stay with me. I was alone the first day. Like he gave me a tour the first hour, like, oh, this is where the stuff is and like how it's laid out and like what you should check for like 1 hour. And he's like, all right, you got it. And I was like, you know, thanks for the confidence that you have in me, but like, I don't know. Anyways, I think the days are gonna go smoother like now because like at least I know what I'm supposed to do. But yeah, it's been a rough couple days, but we're gonna get through it.
My low this week was that right now I'm kind of currently in the process of just like moving out and all my stuff. And I put like a lot of my things on Facebook Marketplace. And
Mm-hmm.
it's been like, I don't know, I don't think I remember ever doing this, but like as soon as I posted something, like you get like 20 messages like all at once. And it was like really nerve-wracking, just like making sure that I respond to people like, yes, like it's available, it's available, it's available. And you end up doing that like so many times because it's really stressful. Like I genuinely like have to get a lot of this stuff out of my apartment.
Yeah.
Like that's the only way that I kind of know to just get rid of it. And surprisingly, like it kind of took maybe 2 days. Someone picked it up. And again, it's like a little nerve-wracking too, because like it's a complete stranger like coming to your apartment. They literally went all the way in, like picked up the table and like all the chairs, and then like they put it in their truck and it was all pretty fast. And luckily like they had cash at hand. So I don't know, the exchange was like pretty fast. And
Yeah.
I'm glad it like went smoothly, but it's still pretty like nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But the worst part of it all was that I think the lady that was supposed to pick up one of my organizers, like straight up just, like they ghost you and you're kind of just like, oh, what happened? And I don't know, right now I'm just having to like re-upload it and like talk to people again. And I don't know, it's been kind of stressful just dealing with all that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That sounds like a lot. I remember moving out. It wasn't the best. But you got it, girl. You got it. Okay, now we'll bring up the energy by doing some weekly highs.
Oh, I got a Whole Foods gift card. So, like, another thing is like I ran out of my EBT money finally from college. So I was like, oh, what am I gonna? Because I would use it at like Trader Joe's to like buy lunch sometimes. And now I have a Whole Foods gift card, and like I went to go get myself a sandwich the other day, and it was really good. So that's all. I have money.
Nice. It really is little things. For me, well, I went to Lollapalooza this past weekend. And it was fun. I liked the live music. My favorite was Kendrick. Like, I feel like he knew what he was doing as a performer, like playing all his like hits, you know what I mean, for like a bigger audience. Anyways, I just felt the music in my soul, and I was like, this is great. What about you, Andrea?
Mm. I wow, I definitely wish I was freaking looking at Kendrick Lollapalooza. But I love Kendrick. My sister too, she loves Kendrick as well.
Oh, man, he's so
Yeah,
good.
she's like 14, so I'm kind of surprised that she also likes Kendrick. But my high this week was so like at work when I started, I think working on like this project. So they told me that the like we have a prototyping room in our little space, and there's also like an electronics portion, and in the electronics portion, they all the electronics like that are there. There's like these alligator clips or like these helping hands they call them, and so basically my task was to make a base for them because right now it's just kind of like a dangling alligator clip.
Mhm.
Anyway, long story short, I've been 3D printing and like designing this thing for weeks. Um, and finally, yesterday I was able to like finish like the fourth piece because I had to finish four like gigantic cubes that took like a
Mm,
full day to print. So it's been kind of like a long process. And yesterday I
yeah.
finally finished it and I put it all together and it looks super cool. And it
Wow.
just like felt pretty good to like finish something and just like move on, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh my God. You're
love
so
that.
talented.
I know. I haven't 3D printed in forever. It's just I want to buy one, but then I'm like,
I want to buy
where am
one
I
too.
gonna put it? Like I don't know where to put it, so I can't buy it right now.
Yeah, to put in the future.
Yeah.
Moving on. We're gonna talk about something new that we learned in our current role. So I'm in a rotational program. I mentioned it a couple times, but if this is the first episode you're listening to, I'm in a rotational program. I don't know why you would start on episode 12, but that's okay. Um, so recently I rotated into a new department, which is engine assembly, but more like on the quality engineering side. So if there's like part issues or um, like if stuff isn't running down the line like it should, like dealing with that kind of stuff and like data on like machines and like parts. Um, so yeah, what have I learned? Yeah, so one day, sorry, it's trying to go back to before Lollapalooza. There was like this one machine that broke for making, I think, like B caps, like bearing caps. And since like the tooling broke, they had to fix it, and then they had to um, rerun it and make sure that nothing was affected on the machine for making like those types of models that run on that line. So I basically had to like check the data on like this one software, and make sure that you know the measurements that it was taking was still in specification. And it was kind of cool, like because like my first week in that rotation, I was just doing like a tour or like learning, kind of like shadowing people, and it was like the first one where I was like actually doing something, um, like being put to work. So it was kind of cool. And I kind of saw like how the data is taken, how the tool like feeds the data back to like this one system, and it's like in real time. But yeah, I guess if anyone needs data, let me know.
I wouldn't say like this is something I learned like towards my like what I apply like directly in my job or like what I do, but I've been going to like so we have interns over the summer and I've been going to like their presentations and their presentations are all like very different. So far they've all been engineering and I think they are engineering like the ones that I go to. Um, but yeah, I didn't know we had so many like departments and like divisions at my job. Like we have like chemical engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical. Well, there's actually not that many electrical to be honest. I'm one of them though. Um, what are the other ones? Anyways, but like you see like for example like how many chemical like what you can do with like chemical engineering like because we make a lot of connectors. It's not what I do, but that's another thing we do there. Um, like there's so much that goes into like the elements like materials themselves like of the connectors, the shields over the cables and like all that stuff. So it was kind of like cool to learn like what they do because it's like crazy like because I don't know that stuff, but also like they don't know like what I do. So it's like, you know. Anyways.
Yeah. What about you, Andrea? Anything? Because you work at the Student Design Center.
Yeah, so right now my current role, I'm currently just finishing my current position at Davis. They have like the Engineering Student Design Center, and they have like shop technician positions. So I'm currently finishing my position as a shop technician. And so currently in the summer, it's been kind of slow because like not a lot of students are there. But what I guess I've seen is that since not a lot of regular, I guess, undergraduate students are there, more graduate students and like professors and stuff like that, and people with like research projects have been
Mhm.
popping by. um,
Mm-hmm.
with that, it's been kind of cool to see like what projects and like what needs, I guess, they come
Mm-hmm.
to the shop. So there was, in the spirit of chem, there was a chemical professor that kind of visited our prototyping room. And they were looking to like 3D print some stuff, some like molecule samples or like protein, samples and stuff like that. But they came with like their own material. And so this material is like PVA, and it's just kind of like a water soluble material. And if you're kind of like familiar with 3D printing, you know that like you build your model, and then if your model kind of has like intricate geometries, it may need supports. So basically, in this kind of application, you're able to do your regular model in like PLA, which is just the regular, plastic prototyping material that they use. And then the supports are going to be in that water soluble material. So this is kind of
Mm-hmm.
the first time we've kind of seen something like this. And this material has been put in one of these machines. So it's kind of like the learning process there, just trying to put the machine with the regular calibration, and then now with her new material. And then it was kind of cool to see her making like her protein models, and then just
Mm-hmm.
putting them in the sink, and then the supports just wash away.
Oh
So I mean,
wow.
usually like in the 3D printing room, you have to like cut them off
Yeah.
Right.
and get like thousands of hours just like sanding it and like scraping it. But they just, wash away. And it was really cool to see that. And especially like, I don't know, like helping a chemical professor, it was pretty cool. But
Yeah, that
Wow.
sounds so cool.
We can just go ahead and get into today's theme. A lot of it was, I guess, like about Andrea and asking her questions and getting to know her, um, but also about her experience as like a first gen in college and being a fifth year. We'll just ask how your experience was during college, like as a first gen, and also doing a fifth year.
yeah, like I think my overall college experience was like super, super challenging. Like it was crazy just kind of processing it all, like at the very end you're just excited to graduate, and especially after all these hard classes, you're just kind of done with it all. I think like in your senior year, I think I went through maybe like burnout, I guess, and you kind of don't realize that you're going through the burnout while you're just trying to pass your classes.
Yeah.
And you don't realize that also um it's not like your last chance, right? But it does kind of pile on, and it does.
Yeah.
This is it, like it's your make it or break it moment kind of. um, so yeah, like
Yeah.
I had a lot of times where it's like this is the the most important final, like you have to pass this, like this is the most important midterm, like this is the most important homework, like um
Yeah.
and it gets down to like the very specific. So but overall I think as a first gen too, there's lots of things that I didn't know. And
Yeah.
in terms of like obviously like education, and then and I think bureaucracy too, just like how to handle like financial aid, or
Yeah.
like
Right.
getting like your resources in terms of, I don't know, your health insurance, or I don't know. There's so
Yeah.
many specific like details like that no one really walks you through. So it is, I think, a really good thing to like have that community that knows how to go through that stuff, especially
Yeah.
a lot of us are familiar with like the leader program, which
Hmm.
I think it was the main reason that I knew how to manage a lot of these things, because during that time, I mean, even orientation too, like they go through Oasis, and I don't know, like uh
Website. Yeah.
yeah, like my awards or something like that. But I think leader just helps with like the advising and the one-on-one attention and like the resources, and I mean the tutoring of it all. Um, and to be honest, like I don't even know how like I went through that program, because I was a really like shy person, and I somehow managed to like sign up for it, make like all the deadlines, and like submit all my paperwork and show up. And I convinced my mom to like drive all that time to like drop me off, and it was just a week before everything started. And I think
Mm.
it was a very helpful program to like get you familiar with everything. They
Yeah.
even, I think, a really good memory for me that prepared me for some stuff was they got even like a little group to go with like mock office hours with like a professor.
Mm.
It just so happened to be like in my mechanical engineering program too. And I think it was actually the aerospace professor, the and he was holding like his office hours there, and we got to talk to him. And I think then I didn't realize how intimidating I that really was, like you were face to face with like a professor. And later on, you would actually like go to office hours and like have to come with a question, and get hopefully get that question answered and like get help. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess it was good to get familiarized with that. But yeah, it's just it was crazy too, just even handling office hours, as a first gen student too,
Yeah.
because you're constantly just like comparing yourself to everyone, and people are I sometimes I've always, I don't know if y'all had this experience, but sometimes in my classes, and a lot of often my general ed classes, and sometimes very hard classes, you would peak sometimes and people are maybe like playing games, or like playing, I don't know, some random freaking Among Us or something. But it's just like I'm over here struggling to like even understand what he's saying. And
Yeah.
I wish I could take that mental break too, or
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
crazy to like you see it firsthand. Like I'm here struggling to take notes and like figure out what he said, and in front of you like someone's watching like a whole movie or
Yeah.
something.
Like shopping online, like
Yeah.
it's like, but leader's like a great program. I was not a part of it. I didn't really know about it until like after, and so I was like, and then people were like, "Are you in leader?" And I was like, "Don't think so," because I had a lot of friends like in leader, and I was like, "Wow." But definitely a great resource. Like if anyone is at Davis, if anyone listening is attending UC Davis, and doesn't know about leader, look into it. Definitely.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the experience you said, I was like nodding. Being a first gen is like a lot of new experiences and like sometimes having to explain these things to your parents when you don't even really understand them yourself. It's like, how do I put this in words? Can you just like help me? When like you compare yourself like to others, it's also like a pretty rough situation. And then also like being a Latina in engineering, it's like there's not a lot. Like I know like you see in classes like when you first start, there's like a lot of, I feel like maybe more women than you'd expect. And then as you go up into like the higher classes, I guess depending on the engineering field, but I know for at least electrical, it was like really got thin senior year. Um, but then like also like even now, like in like industry, it's like you see it, you're like the only one. So it's like, all power to you and all of us. But yeah. Um, I
So,
guess also, oh, you can go.
no, I was just gonna ask, like, so how did you decide, or yeah, I guess to do a fifth year, or like know that that was like something you were gonna end up doing, like, because like financial aid and stuff, like how did that work out?
Yeah, I think this also relates to like the leader program because
Oh,
that you are around like a community where a lot of the people you meet, they're also like first gen background, and a lot of them ended up doing fifth years as well. So it wasn't
mm,
like a very foreign concept. Like I was, very comfortable with like that topic and with like people just like, oh yeah, I'm a fifth year. I was like, okay, cool. Like, and you heard
mm,
Yeah.
that around like a lot. So like in the leader program as well, like the main people there, like the advisors, they were themselves like fifth years.
Mm,
And so it was something that I definitely very much like always considered, I guess. Like maybe it was like always in the back of my head.
mm-hmm.
Um Definitely it came true, or like I definitely considered it. I think definitely my third year, like the last of my third year, because you're looking at like what is your last year.
yeah,
Um and I saw that and I was like, that's definitely not gonna be like my last year. Like I'm definitely gonna have to do something else. Like
Yeah.
and I ended up meeting with my advisor, and what they said was you're gonna have to take like either an extra quarter or maybe 2 quarters, depending on how everything else goes like the rest of the year. And so after finishing, it ended up being like I had to take 2 extra quarters because
mm,
um, I my first year I failed my math class, so I'm pretty sure that that set that back a little bit from that first year. And then I think around my second year, I ended up repeating, I think, one of my thermofluid dynamics classes. Like it was really bad. I ended up having to retake it. And so I'm pretty sure a lot of these like things ended up piling up and kind of forced me to also take a little bit extra quarters. Um, and I realized too that, you have 2 summer sessions, I guess, in the summer.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
are some students that are full on taking like 2 classes first session, 2 classes the second session, and like power to them and like congratulations. But they like in reality for me and like looking at my situation, I don't think I could have ever been able to do that like realistically.
Yeah.
And I did end up taking like some summer session courses. I think during COVID, I was able to take like some investment class and like
Mm.
uh, my circuits class. And it was nice to kind of feel like ahead. But in reality, I think I was just catching up or something, But yeah, like it was good also to like have that summer to like have an internship, and so I think all of this combined, it just was like the best option to just have that fifth year. And then too, like you said, considering like realistically financial aid, and then like my living situation, a lot of the places here like don't really do, like if I decided to maybe stay 1 quarter, they don't really do like housing for 1 quarter. Like it's kind of like
yeah,
a whole year type of lease.
Yeah.
And so it all just came down to, let's just do a whole fifth year. And while I was in my fifth year, I was kind of comparing like my quarters, my whole fifth year to my quarters all my other years. and they felt like obviously like a lot lighter because now I'm dealing with like 12 units and just like three classes and stuff like that. And it was a lot better to handle in terms of like workload.
Yeah.
Um, and especially I guess the transition being back in person, like it was just a lot better to handle in fifth year. I think it would have gone a lot differently if I would have done like 16, 17 units straight out of, all of that.
Yeah.
Definitely glad I did all of that. And I don't think it really changed much. I just it felt like a longer time, obviously, but yeah, it just like I said, I was familiar with it from the start. And a lot of like my friends too ended up being fifth years. So I
Mhm.
wasn't too like alone as a fifth year, which was also like a really good benefit of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm really glad overall.
Oh, I'm like
Yay.
so glad it worked out for you. And I know like sometimes like um yeah, like people see like a fifth year isn't common, but it's just because like they're not around other people who are also doing it. So I'm really glad like that wasn't like uncommon for you, and like, you even said like the last year was pretty smooth. So like, yeah, I'm glad. And also I want people to hear.
Yeah, and especially like engineering because you have to take
Yeah.
like so many more units than other majors for some reason. And it's like a lot of people finish like past 4 years. Like me and Vanessa did summer sessions. So like if we didn't do that, like we would also be taking fifth years.
Yeah.
Like, so 4 years and a quarter, 4 years and 2 quarters, like 5 years. And I know a lot of people don't want to stay, but it's like if it's gonna help you like throughout the quarter, throughout the semester, like, because it's like your education at the end of the day, like you're either gonna get it or you're not. Um, yeah, you have to go at your own pace. But yes, I'm so happy for you that
Thank you.
that worked out. Yeah. Well, Andrea, was there anything else that you wanted to like talk about or mention or like bring up, like literally anything?
Mm,
Um,
I think yeah, my main I guess takeaway of like my whole college experience, if I
Yeah.
wrap it up, um, was that I am grateful. I think that I was able to be a part of all of these communities because
mm,
thing that I'm glad I did was I joined like a lot of clubs. I was part of Society of Women Engineers, and I think that's where I first saw Victoria and Vanessa like as in their role and stuff. And I was like, oh wow, like I want to be in that club too. Like they seem like they have so much fun and like they're doing really great things. And so I joined that. And there was like also this women like machinist club, and I was a part of that
Mhm.
as well. Cales, we were also like
Yeah.
familiar with them as well. And I'm glad that they have just kind of like this community outlet and like outreach part of like their club because it was really great to like give back to a lot of those students. They had a lot of events where like we created workshops and stuff for them. And it was nice to like be a part of that.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
and I think too, we also just like are glad to meet other people like from our background, like in these clubs. And
yeah,
so
Yeah.
we glad like Gales was a part of all of these clubs. And then too, like coffee, I was so glad to like be, like a board member too for that. Like it was such a great experience, I think, throughout
Oh.
everything. Um, I think it very much like pushed like a lot of our creative sides, just to like think a lot about
yeah.
Yeah,
the,
we were so lucky to have you too. I think
oh
you like,
yeah, thank you.
yeah, like your like ideas and designs. I was like, this girl is amazing.
I know Andrea designed our t-shirts, the back of the t-shirts with the
Yeah,
little hand. Um, that
she
was
was there from the
amazing.
start. She was there from the start for real.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
but
love
yeah,
that
I
t-shirt.
agree. The community is where it's at in college, especially for us.
Yeah. And like you wouldn't get that opportunity like anywhere else. Like I literally would not have had that opportunity to design a t-shirt for a club that I love and
Yeah,
that you have your besties in, and like it's a really like nice opportunity that you get to be in this community of people that are a part of all these clubs and like with things that they are passionate about, and
yeah,
even some like they do projects and like stuff like that. And I don't know, it's just a really nice thing to just be involved and like
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Community all the way.
Yeah, 100%. So we do have a couple questions. We have eight. Yeah, eight. So we will start with number one. What makes you proud to be an engineer? Good question.
I think what makes me specifically proud about being an engineer is I think the power of like the knowledge that you have to know how to make a change and really do it in a positive way, I think. Because two, you are like in a space where you can, come up with ideas and design stuff and just have like a creative outlet too, like in a space maybe as an engineer for me. And I think that's why I just want to pursue places that allow me to be that because that's something that I do want to be proud of, like the creativity that
Yeah.
allows you to make positive change. So yeah, I think that's something
Yeah.
I'm proud
I I mean, I don't know if this question was for me, but I kind of want to answer.
of. Mhm.
I'd say like for me, like the fact that like our communities, like we weren't supposed to be engineers, like makes me proud to be one because, you know, I mean, at least I think we've said this before, but like engineering isn't necessarily brought up as like an option. Like go into engineering, like for us, like Hispanic communities, like households, women. And so, but also just because like engineers were all, and a lot of the majority is still like older white men, like, you know, we weren't supposed to be in these spaces, but now we are, and like hopefully we continue to grow. That what is the word? Population, not the right word, but you know what I mean. So I just want to add that onto like whatever Andrea said because I definitely agree with you.
Yeah, just adding on. Yeah, there's a lot of like older white men, and like even now, like where I'm working this week, it's like I'm the only girl, obviously the only Latina. There's like maybe this one other like young guy, then they're like older white men, and I'm like I have to have a conversation with them here and there, like not make it awkward. So like learning to do that also, and like be in your space and like accept that you're there and like that you do belong there, and then like um adapt to it, I think that's pretty amazing.
What is something you are afraid of as you approach the current job market?
I think going back to with what Vanessa said just about like feelings about yourself and like your potential, I think I'm just very much afraid of like how I am going to be in the
Mhm.
industry, like what my impact is going to be, because I think you realize like what maybe all of this was for, like what you're gonna do, or what your real purpose maybe is gonna be. So I think that crosses your mind a little bit too, and like what you think about like your place in industry. And so I think I'm very much afraid of like just figuring out like where exactly is going to be the right place where I'm going to be proud to be an engineer like in this space.
Yeah.
I'm very much afraid of that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's also like especially like as a first gen, like you don't know what the engineering space is like, or like how to move around it, like how to talk to people really. And like I think there's the first like days, weeks, at least for me months, was like you know, a little rough just because like you're trying to adjust to everything. Um and then like here and there there's like days where you're like, oh, like you just don't have that confidence, at least for me. And then there's days where like, yeah, like I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna make my work environment better, and like you're out here talking to everyone, like, it's just like you have those days and it's like gonna happen. But I mean, as far as like jobs, you just kind of have to see what you think you'll like, and then You gotta experience it, you know? Um, but yeah, it's always, I feel like it's always like the fear of the unknown. But
But
we're
yeah.
gonna do it because we don't know. We don't know, and that's okay.
Yeah, like when I was job searching, like same thing. I was like
Mhm.
literally the same fears. Yeah. So I feel you. But yeah, we're going to move on to the next question because there's eight. Thank you guys for asking questions. By the way. Yeah. What was your first internship and what did you learn from that experience?
So my first internship was in a like circuit manufacturing startup. It was in San Carlos, and it was Cell Link, and so they basically manufactured these, flexible circuit boards for like Tesla and um, like I think they had Toyota at some point and like Honda, because all of these, companies, they're basically starting to tap into the EV market. And
Mhm.
I realized that like a lot of stuff comes into just building one of these vehicles. And uh, what they did was basically manufactured like small copper traces that would go into like the door harnesses of these vehicles or like the headboards. And
Mm.
then, they would handle things like like the heating of maybe like the seat or just powering like the window up and down or stuff like that.
Mm.
They manufactured a lot of the things that went into like a lot of those cars. And so this internship was kind of illuminating too, just seeing, I think, the startup world in itself, because you maybe feel like everything's kind of like rush and go and
Mm.
do this, do that, do that. Like maybe it just feels like everything's gonna crash and burn like every day or something. But yeah, like you go into work and the kind of setup was like the bottom floor was like the manufacturing floor, and so you had places running like just the plastic filaments that kind of went into this stack. And what they kind of did was they had many other places for the kind of stacks that they manufacture. They have like a dielectric, so that insulates the copper layer. So they had stations with like the dielectrics, and then they had stations with like the raw, materials like copper and aluminum, and they had other stations with like
Mm,
sealants and stuff. So kind
sounds
of like,
cool, yeah.
yeah, there's like three different places. And so one of my tasks too, since they're a startup, I guess, they were also looking into new uh manufacturers or like vendors to like start
Mm.
a line of like new dielectric materials. And
Hmm.
my task was literally to test this new material to see if like they're a good customer or not. And I was like, yeah, I can definitely do that. And I'll definitely look into how to do that. And so like my first day, I was just talking around to every single one like that worked there, and I was like, "Hey, how do you do your job? Like, let me like figure out how to do like my project." And I ended up talking to like 10 different people to just basically like start my project and like try and help out all this during the summer. And it ended up, escalating to like me showing off like a design that I did on SolidWorks. And I had to like do like trace designs, they they do a lot of like designs in terms of like circular designs and like like very weird geometric designs that I was I'm not sure how I'm supposed to replicate that. Like, how do you get there? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I took the safe route and I was like, I'm just gonna make lines. Like, that's my first thing. Because the point of this was just to like test the material. It wasn't
Right.
test
Mm.
out your design or anything like that. And I was like, I'm not sure like how to do any of this. So I'm just gonna do some lines because we just have to test the material. um
Yeah.
I ended up doing like presentations about like my tests. There was like work calls where they would like zoom people in like Michigan, and we would all sit in like a room and basically like what did you do today? What are you gonna do today? Like, what is your plan for today? Like, what do you think isn't gonna work out today? And it's just like very nerve-wracking. Um, but overall, the internship was just really, really nice in terms of learning, I guess, the manufacturing side and then like a design side, and then just dealing, I guess, with two like customers and like people that are buying your product, and then uh, two, I think, dealing with like maybe manufacturing someone else's design. Like at some point, my task was to make someone's thing with like their machines, and so it was really hard to just like understanding someone's like thing and then, making that come to life too. So I'm glad I got to do a little bit of both. But overall, it was a very like very hard experience because you're just kind of thrown in there too. And then the startup world is a little nerve-wracking in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That sounds like fun and stressful, but you did it,
Yeah.
girl.
No, yeah. Thank you for sharing. It was actually like really cool information.
Yeah.
Not that it wasn't going to be, but anyways. The next question is, what can you do with your mechanical engineering background?
So from what I've been told from my advisor is that you can go anywhere. You can apply to anything. You can, you can look into a lot of things. But recently, I think I've just been thinking about like out of very randomly, I think I took this class my last quarter. It was like a power and sustainable um course. And so you kind of go over just like solar and like wind and basically just sustainable power. And I guess I just didn't realize that there's like a huge solar industry that is like,
Yeah,
hiring mechanical engineers and stuff like that. So I don't know, maybe that's just one of the main industries that are like in this space of like
Mm,
sustainable power and just like moving the world into like a more sustainable space, because I think that's one of like the main things right now, like as engineers, like one of the huge problems is like trying to help sustain all of this demand for power and hoping to sustain the earth too. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know like or the way that I think about it is like mechanical like engineers do a lot of like not like building, but like the system, right? But then like electrical is like the like inside and like getting it to like function kind of. Like I know mechanical engineers do a lot of like SolidWorks, like modeling and stuff, but I mean there's like obviously more you can do. Because I feel like mechanical and electrical like go hand in hand kind of a lot because it's like you work together to like make this thing, but you need both engineers. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to like understand the basics of like both in some ways. So yeah, but thank you for answering that because I would not have been able to. Um, so Sam asked this question, what's it like being so cool?
I think it's a little stressful. It's not
Sounds
like
like
it's
it.
not easy being cool like every day.
Right.
So you definitely have to like space out the time to be cool. Um, so it's been really hard to like,
Imagine.
work life cool balance. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. The ones who know, know.
Um, Another question from Sam, private or public? I don't know what
I think she meant
I mean,
like,
there's like companies, right?
maybe like
I
Um,
thought she meant, oh, okay,
what?
go ahead.
no.
I thought she was saying like if the questions were going to be private or public.
Oh,
Oh,
no, I think she's probably talking about like public companies or like
Yeah,
private.
there's like
oh,
because mine is a private, I think.
oh,
Yeah.
okay,
And
okay.
I'm assuming yours would be a public, right, Vanessa?
I don't know.
Yeah.
To be honest, that seems like a question for like a non first gen person. I have no idea. But I probably there's benefits to like public and private. I'm
Mm,
sure. Um, I haven't done maybe like my most intensive research on that yet. So I don't
Yeah,
think I really thought about it yet.
I'm
So
gonna write that down. Like maybe we need
let
to
me just
discuss
add
that a
that
little
to my agenda and I'll get back to you.
bit. What are some struggles you faced while finding a job? Okay.
Well, the current struggles that I'm facing right now finding a job is I think just the overall maybe like motivation to do it. I think it's been too hard just like seeing yourself, yeah, like in what sort of position I really want to go in, and I think it's just gonna require like a lot of uh time and effort to really research where I could, even just begin to. So it's been just like I think overall a struggle finding just maybe not the right fit, but just the okay fit too. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just even hard beginning that process. And I think too, just um finding like the right maybe like steps to like start that process and overall like the kind of like emotion to do it everything. It's like
yeah.
it's it's a slow process that you kind of don't want to start, but you know you have to start. So it's like you kind of want to put it
Yeah.
off as much as you can.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think like I would say for me, like it really did take an emotional toll on me. It's not funny, but like when I think about it, like because it's like after hearing like so many no's or like companies just like never answered you, like I literally got an email this week. They're like, after looking at your application, I was like, I'm already like at another job like a year later, like why even respond at that point? Um, but yeah, or like learning not to be like hard on myself because I was like extremely. Like I did a panel like the other week, and then like one of the questions is like, how do you deal with rejection? And a lot of people were like saying like positive things you can do, but I was like, sometimes you just have to like cry about it, like let it pass because that's what you feel in that moment, and it's fine to feel upset and like obviously it's understandable when a company like you apply to, especially if you really wanted to work there, like tells you no. Um, cry about it and then like let it pass and then you like keep going. But it's like you don't always have to be super happy and like, oh, rejection is redirection. I'm like, okay, but in that moment I'm upset. So like but obviously figuring out how to not be so hard on myself, I think that was a struggle. So yeah.
For me, like I think when I applied to my job, like I didn't really know that I was applying or like why or like what I was really applying for. I just knew that the position said like a quality engineer and it was like a rotational program and I'm like, sure. And like people would ask me like, so what are you gonna do? Like you're gonna move up there? And I was like, you think I know? I don't know, whatever. It's on the job description. Like, I don't know. Like I don't know. And yeah, I know this is specifically for like finding a job, but like I think I was also like trying to apply to like Disney and like the entertainment ones. And, like I just never heard back. And I was like, man, like is this how it's gonna be? I applied to Honda. I did it actually through HSF, which is like the Hispanic Scholarship Fund, like the organization through a conference. And so recommend those. But I was like luckily like they like reached out to me because I wouldn't have known about the opportunity anyway. And then, went through the application process. And I think once I started that, having a mentor did help. I had Hope. She was like an electrical engineer also at Davis. But I was like, I don't like know, like how do I know like they're not scamming me? Like what do I even say in the interview? Like what are they gonna ask me? And then like what do you do pre-interview, during the interview, and like post-interview? So I think that was like one of the things that did help me. I would recommend like asking. You can ask us. You can ask like anyone you feel comfortable with. That's gonna help you throughout your process. But like you'll be fine at the end. It's just like when you don't know, it's like it feels like the worst thing ever.
What is your opinion on sustainability and engineering working together in the world?
I think, yeah, that might go back to like the whole solar and
Yeah.
wind thing because uh mm, maybe I'm not too aware of any other industries out there, but what the most thing that comes to my head is like the solar industry and maybe like the wind industry and just trying to find better ways to have like all of this demand for power and energy, and
Yeah.
especially now with like the electrification of like most of like our vehicles and stuff like that,
Yeah,
there's going to be a lot of demand for like electricity, and so managing that and hoping that that for the future is like okay too, I think is the main industries that I think engineers have like the power to really make a really big change in those industries.
Yeah, definitely. And I know like a lot of the parts like PCBs or like components are actually bad for the earth. Like once you get rid of them, it's like, they release like they pollute the air and like there needs to be better ways to engineer and like improve things in the world, but also like not kill it at the same time. Um, yeah. So that was our last question. If anyone has anything else to add on any of the eight, feel free to, or forever hold your peace.
yeah. Thank you for everyone for listening, but also special thank you to Andrea for joining us today and providing her input, her experience, her wise words. We hope that you can either relate to anything, you know, take something away from today's episode. Feel free to reach out to Andrea. I didn't even ask her if that was okay before I just said that, but
No.
feel feel free to reach out to us also if you have any questions, even following up after something we said today. But yeah, big thank you to everyone in the chat.
Yeah, thank you.
And also just catching up.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I think this was very much needed to like, process, especially everything that, just happened.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for listening. That was episode 12. We'll see you the next one. I don't know what's coming next, but TBD, stay tuned.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.